So, Cern Basher, I want to tell you a story. It happened this morning. It was the wildest thing I've ever, maybe in the 2 years, almost 2 years I've been doing this show. I started off that show this morning saying that maybe Tesla stock was out over its skis, that maybe it had come too far too fast. In fact, that is the thumbnail. And during the course of that 20 minutes while I was on the show, the stock dropped about 8 points. So my predictive powers are getting stronger and stronger. What do you think about that?
Well, that's great, Randy. But unless you give people some advance warning of that, it's not much use.
I gave it. It was well, that's right, because it didn't get published
Yeah.
after all of that took
So
place.
it's after the fact, so that's no good.
I guess I have to go
But
to live streaming or something.
maybe you should change the thumbnail now to it's now an opportunity now that it's dropped.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I
Well,
imagine that you have really fun stuff to talk about this morning.
I do. We have something really fun coming up. Do you have any idea what that might be?
Yes, I'll be watching it from the bar down the street, I think.
Yeah. Well, some of us got tickets and some of us didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's okay. That's okay. They can only have so many people, and the people that will be there will thoroughly enjoy it.
I'm sure they will.
So, for those that don't know, we are referring to Tesla's 1010 event, and here's an image of part of the invite.
Yeah.
We robot.
Yes.
What are your thoughts about this, Randy?
Well, I don't know if you know it, but there was a joke going around this morning that I almost, well, I kind of was ready to report on, and then I didn't. That there's a little code in the background of
Yeah.
zeros and ones and blah blah blah. Although maybe there aren't any ones, only zeros. But anyway, somebody thought that it spelled out R2D2 and
C3PO.
3CP. It turns out that they were just funning us.
Yes.
But the We robot, so there's I robot, and then there's We robot. And so in that same program this morning, I said that the big breakthrough, the big deal that could happen at the show would be that both of them would be talking.
Wouldn't that be something?
Yes. Yes.
Um, the best interpretation I saw of this, of the ones and zeros in the inside there, was Jan of the EV universe, who decoded it, and apparently it said, "Invite Jan to the event." I thought that was quite clever.
That was good. That's good.
Yeah. It's interesting though how it looks a bit like this.
Oh,
And for movie fans, this is HAL 9000 from 2001: Space
oh,
Odyssey.
oh,
Sorry, Dave, I can't do that.
yeah.
You can see the similarities between the two, right?
Sure, sure, absolutely.
Also, this is an image of the camera on the front of my Cybertruck.
Okay.
Sorry, I tried to clean it. It was early this morning. I
Yeah,
cleaned
yeah,
most of it off.
yeah.
But you can see that obviously the image is of a camera from the invite.
Sure.
The camera looks maybe a little bit different, but the inner part of the camera here looks very
Mm,
similar to the invite.
mm,
Um, Jan, also of the EV universe, same Jan, discovered that the summon button on the app that Tesla had teased us with, I think it was during the annual meeting. The outside of it here, the circles, is virtually identical to what's on the invite.
oh,
So it
okay,
appears to be a sampling of what's to come in the app.
okay, all right.
So we have the app on the outside. We've got the camera lens on the inside. Certainly, there's a whole bunch of different interpretations. And I wrote a fairly lengthy post about this morning with my speculations of everything.
Okay.
Um, but certainly, this looks like a tire. You can see lines on a road. There's some thinking that this could be, three people going on a journey, and the trip could start and end anywhere.
I
And
see.
here's one over here with two people, and then there's someone over here with one person, or it could be three vehicles. in some kind of a convoy for efficiency purposes, going on a journey.
Okay. Okay.
So lots of different possible interpretations of all this stuff.
Right.
We've also explored this morning whether this is Morse code for something,
Oh yeah, somebody mentioned that. Yeah.
right? And so the people came up with NDV, which is non-drivable vehicle or non-driver vehicle.
Non-driver, that would be better.
Yeah. Somebody suggested that the ones and zeros on the inside here is binary code for data.
Oh, for data.
That could be. That
Yep.
wouldn't surprise me.
Yep.
Um, certainly the sun here, we're at a new dawn.
Hmm.
Some people suggested that's the light at the end of the FSD tunnel. Long, long tunnel that we've been in.
Or maybe it's a train coming.
Well, it could be that. Yeah, you never know. You never know. But once you're in the tunnel, you might as well just keep going to the end.
That's right. Yeah.
Um, John, Dr. Know-it-all, suggested that this gray area here, which must have been added as kind of a nod to the Cybertruck or cyber theme.
Mm-hmm.
Also, these letters are very similar to what is in the in the Cybertruck on the screen
Oh, okay.
inside the vehicle. So anyway, lots of different interpretations. Those are just a few of them.
Yeah.
Lewis Withrow suggested that we were looking at the dawn of a new species,
Thanks.
and this was his interpretation of the image.
Yes.
So there are a lot of creative people out there, Randy.
Yes, there are. There are.
Yeah. So yeah, I'll leave that there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Certainly, though, it's obviously based on the series iRobot, Isaac Asimov. Some cautionary tales actually about robots and then the challenges with them,
Yes. Yes.
written in the 1940s. I was looking at some of these book covers to sort of see whether or not they took any inspiration from some of these, and I guess you could see elements of it, but
Yeah.
here's I don't know. It's all there, I guess, in some ways. So Elon, the master that he is of keeping expectations low, said that this one will be for the history books.
Right. Right.
So I don't know about you, but when I saw that, I was like, wow, okay, he's actually trying to build this up.
Well, he's already said it'll be the most important one, only comparable to the Model 3 reveal. So
yeah. And the Model 3 was pivotal for the company.
pivotal.
And obviously this will be too ultimately, but yeah, so I thought that was interesting. So let's spend a few minutes and explore this, Randy. What are your expectations for the event?
Well, excuse me, this morning I pointed out that there were three must-haves for the event. And the first must-have, I should probably get my list. Oh my, so I don't blow it here. Okay, my must-haves were sure.
Sorry for putting you on the spot.
Yeah. How
You would think your must-haves though would be on the top of your head at this point. You would have
you
them
would
right
think,
there.
you would think that was true. You would think
Yeah.
that was true. Well, basically, it has to have you have to have a cyber cab that is really cool, inside and out. Okay.
Yeah.
The outside doesn't have to be pretty. It can be a cyber looking vehicle, but it's got to be cool. And
Yeah.
I have almost no doubt that we have the most amazing team in terms of style ever. And so I think that's going to be a real easy layup.
Mhm.
Number two, I think you have to have a business proposition. We have to know how it's going to work for somebody like you or me if we want to put our car out there. How much money can we get if we are willing to do that? And then third is there needs to be a date certain are very close to date certain as to when something starts, whether it's supervised, which most people seem to believe it's going to be supervised in the beginning. Maybe the supervised opportunity starts the day after the show, or 11/1 or 1/1, but a date certain. Those three things, I think if we get those three things, the stock does very well the next day.
Yeah, interesting. So I give that some thought myself. But as you know, I like to ask the people.
Right,
Um, and so here's compilation of what the people have said,
right.
right? And this time, instead of taking direct quotes, I just summarized it on this in this
Okay,
table. So in terms of vehicles, robotaxi vehicles, there's a consensus that the two-seater cybercab is a must,
okay,
that we're going to see that.
okay,
There's also many people that feel that a 4 or 5-seater robotaxi is also going to be unveiled.
right.
Some hope that we'll see a 6+ seater,
Mm,
right, like a van or something.
right,
Um, there's also hope that it'll be wheelchair accessible.
okay,
And that's interesting because that does change the design potentially of any vehicle, right? If you need to make it wheelchair accessible.
sure,
Right. And maybe the two-seater cybercab isn't wheelchair accessible, but that would be a reason for then displaying another vehicle that is,
right.
right? And if you're going to displace public transport, that's probably an important feature to have
Hmm.
ultimately. Some people also hope that there'll be a pre-order option for the cybercab, hoping that they too can buy one.
Right.
Personally, I think that's unlikely. I think Tesla's likely to keep cybercabs for themselves for a while.
Yeah, there seems to be a pretty good split in the community over that subject.
Yeah.
So that could be answered tomorrow on 10/10.
Yeah.
Both, obviously, if they offer a pre-order, that'll be the answer.
Yeah. Now, in terms of the robotaxi demonstration itself, definitely a video demonstration. That would be minimum, and that would actually be probably disappointing if that's all they did.
Yes,
There's expectation for a live demonstration.
right.
Many hope that there'll be participants at the event will be able to ride in a robotaxi
Mhm.
that will have a full working app, and more importantly, a full demo of the app from start to finish.
Right.
What each screen looks like, what the process is, etc.
Mhm.
What the experience is inside the vehicle and with the app. Okay.
Yep.
And then I'll just drop down here. Robotaxi network. There's an expectation that they'll unveil a supervised robotaxi network.
Mhm.
I'm just calling that drive.
Okay.
I don't have any inside information on that, what that
Right.
would be called. As opposed to auto, which would be a driverless robotaxi network. And there seems to be a pretty good split in the community as to whether or not, they'll have a supervised one.
Yeah, I think the split is, and I think it's a smaller percentage than the drive version. I think the split is that Elon doesn't want to come out with a half result, that
Yeah.
he would want to go full on to auto. But if he's talking about full on to auto, we might be talking not only next year, but we might also be talking not specific date.
Right. Now, what puzzles me a little bit is that FSD updates haven't been coming that quickly.
Mhm.
Now, I just got mine from my Hardware 3 Model Y.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, Randy, I need to go.
Yeah.
I need to test it out. Uh, but, the question now is, have they been holding something back
Yeah.
and not providing the latest couple of versions, perhaps, of FSD and saving it for this big event and
Oh,
showing everybody
yes.
the improvement?
Oh, okay.
Maybe, although in a closed
Yeah.
course like this, you could have it do whatever you want it to do, no problem.
Yeah.
There's still the question of, is FSD even close enough to be ready for prime time for driverless operation? And I have to say, from what I've seen so far, the answer is no, not yet.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
And
Clearly they're getting there, but it's a question of when.
so the last two times that we've had these major reveals, the YouTube community, not my level, but the next level up, the guys that have 1 million, followers, they got the special access. They got to go out and test. So could be that after the event, some of those guys might be given actual cyber cabs and offered the opportunity to somehow test those in a real world situation. We'll see. Yeah.
That would be an exciting development if that was to happen.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit skeptical about whether or not they're quite there yet.
Yeah.
I hope my skepticism is proven wrong. Many expect that we'll get a launch date. You mentioned this,
Right.
that we'll get an understanding of where they will roll this out.
Mhm.
Although, again, Elon has mentioned so many times that they're just going to press a button and the whole network comes alive.
Right.
That seems unlikely. Partner announcements. Many people expect that there'll be announcements of some partners.
Uh-huh.
Whether that's Uber, whether that's Lyft, whether it's some fleet operators, whether it's who knows who.
Right.
Ford, FSD licensing, who knows?
Mhm.
And then this is really more for me. I'd like an understanding of kind of the network economics and pricing and that kind of stuff.
Yeah. So I mentioned that I feel they need to provide that economics for the owners of the vehicles. But I think you're going one step further, which is something we would like, I think, which is how do the economics work out for Tesla?
Right. And I think to keep Wall Street happy, you need to spoon feed them something so that they can go home to their spreadsheets and put some numbers in there.
Right.
Yep. I don't need to be spoon fed. I've done well enough just creating numbers out of thin air, Randy. So I don't need Tesla to tell me.
I've been accused of something like that.
Yeah. If we flip over to here, in terms of other vehicles that they might unveil, it seems like this could be an interesting opportunity to do so. There's expectation that they might roll out, show the $25,000 vehicle or whatever that is called, compact vehicle. Some people also expect that there'll be other unboxed vehicles unveiled.
Right.
That it won't necessarily just be one. There'll be a sort of a platform.
Right.
And that's the beauty of unboxed, is you could have all kinds of different things. I think the most likely one probably is a Roadster. Whether it's flying or not remains to be seen, but the Roadster is long overdue.
Oh.
I think Elon did say that it would be sometime this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's now the end of September. So that's the end of the year is fast approaching. Many hope for a cyber van or a camper platform delivery van option.
Yeah.
And then some have even suggested that windowless vehicles are a potential.
Those last two, well, the cyber van, I just think it's way too early. I think that's a 2027, probably, or certainly 2026, maybe unveil in 2027. But the windowless, I think Warren Redlick was the first one to mention that idea. And at the first, it was kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't see this. I don't think it's going to happen personally.
Yep. No, I put it out there, not judging it. I think it's an interesting idea. I see pros and cons with it. And then Grok in the vehicle. People would like to be able to communicate with Grok, talk to it.
That's number one for me. Number one, way at the top.
Yep. Wireless charging, something on that front. And then updates on AI5, Dojo, and the 4680, and how it relates to the vehicles that are presented. And then finally, since it's We Robots,
Sure.
Optimus.
Yes.
So maybe a Gen 3 unveil, demo of some sort, announcement or discussion about Optimus in production, and then maybe Optimus charging vehicles if the wireless charging part isn't presented, to show how Optimus could be useful in a robotaxi network situation.
Yeah, I would. I think that it's too early for Optimus 3. Maybe not, but probably too early for Optimus 3, or the whatever version you want to call the one they're going to unveil. At least not fully having the new arm. I think they're looking at that toward the end of the year. So I'd be surprised if that was it. What I would love to see, what I think would be the showstopper, would be both of them able to talk. If both of them can have if they can have a conversation with Elon or with each other, something that gives us that future.
That would be neat. That would be neat. Yeah, and Scott Walter agrees with you, by the way, on the Optimus unveil of a next generation bot. He feels that they're not quite there yet.
Right.
But who knows? They promised an update on the bot back in August,
Right.
and we haven't received anything. So my guess is they're saving something for this.
I think though that the reason that we didn't get that unveil is because of this major change in the arm. And maybe they'll have a prototype that they could show. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. So you probably recall this image.
I've seen it before.
You've seen it before, right? And so it's a van looking like something under one of those covers.
Yes.
And then it's a robotaxi or a compact vehicle under the other. But this is actually the most recent one. There's 3 vehicles undercover.
Right.
So is this one the Roadster? And this compact / robotaxi? And this a van?
Yeah.
And Elon talked about at the annual shareholder meeting about how amazing these vehicles were going to be. So they've had these vehicles under wraps for some time. I think it's highly likely that we see at least 2 vehicles.
At least 2. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, how long do you want to keep us in suspense? And now you're adding a third cover. Like how many sheets do they have in their digital archive to cover vehicles? They must be running out of sheets.
Yeah. Yeah.
But anyway, yeah. We'll see. So last night I asked Dr. Jack what he thought what his expectations were for the unveil, and he wrote up this nice piece. And so he sort of says, I'd love to see a large movie set where they show us from start to finish how they envision robotaxis working. Most of the public do not know as much as we do. I think Tesla and Elon should show them step by step how it would all seamlessly work. Right? From hailing a robotaxi on the app, getting in the concept car, likely production vehicle, with no pedals or steering wheel, riding to the destination and getting out. They would also demonstrate how the charging infrastructure would work. Optimus can make a guest appearance. That would also be cool, but this is about robotaxi, not Optimus. A little teaser on the progress with Optimus would be great to solidify how Tesla is way beyond a car company now. They need to be appreciated as an AI / robotics / manufacturing powerhouse. And then he says, I think the 25K EV and the robotaxi vehicle could launch together, as their modular components for manufacturing are very likely similar. So I would not be surprised to see both vehicles presented. And my personal wish is to see an unveiling of a cyber van or any type of van. It would really help the Tesla customer base with 2 or more kids. So that was nice. Thank you, Dr. Jack, for taking the time to write that up.
And so I have a couple of issues with Dr. Jack, though, here. Number one is this idea of what is the $25,000 vehicle versus what is the eventual unboxed vehicle that is not a cyber cab. Are we looking at 2 completely different things? Are we looking at the same thing with an iteration? So something is supposed to come in January or late December or early January or sometime in January, that is a $25,000 or compact vehicle that will be made partially unboxed on the Model 3 lines, or Model Y lines. But is that going to be an iteration that we will then see a new version of later in the year that is 100% unboxed? That's what is confusing to me.
It's obvious, Randy.
It's obvious. Okay.
This is from Noah. He's saying, by this image, Optimus Gen 3 unveil confirmed. So that's what he's taking away from this image. It's not just about cars. The dedicated robotaxi vehicle, the 2025K Baby Model 3, he's calling it. the new automotive assembly line, and the possible unveil of a dedicated robovan.
What if Optimus actually was the MC in the beginning? What if Optimus comes out and introduces the show
Yeah.
verbally, and then maybe when he calls up the cybercab actually has the voice of my mother, the car, or what was that other one? I forget the other one.
Yeah. No, that would be fun. It'd be great
Oh,
fun.
oh, what was that other one?
You're
The other
um,
talking car, the other
oh, Kit, Knight Rider?
Yeah, Kit. Yeah, so it could be either Kit's voice or my
Yeah.
mother car's voice. Yeah.
Yep. Or any voice. Yep. Um, this guy, Warren Redluck. Have you heard of Warren Redluck,
Oh
Randy?
yeah, Warren, he comes on my show once in a while.
Yeah. Optimus seems obvious, he says. I don't think they'll reveal lower cost vehicles yet, unless they're ready to deliver very soon. Yeah, okay, I hear that. I hear him. And he says, my personal theory, and I'm way out on a limb here, is that they will unveil a new Model X in the form of an extended and improved 7-seat Model Y for 60K. So I haven't heard of too many talk about that.
Nope.
And then he says maybe a van. So thank you for Warren for some non-consensus ideas. That's great. We like that. Um, this suggestion here is I'd like to see multiple cybercabs pull up to the main venue and drop off famous people. Well, LA is the place for that.
Yep. I had actually recommended that a couple of weeks ago. He probably stole it.
Could have. Yeah. I'm giving him credit here, though, Randy, instead of you. He wants to see a cybercab robotaxi driven by Optimus. I don't think that's necessary,
Yeah.
but certainly sitting in one. And then, as we talked about Grok in the vehicle, he's talking about Kit as well.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Yeah. And then here, Brian says, I don't understand why people think the next gen vehicle will be even discussed during the robotaxi event. There's a 0% chance of that happening. So I asked him why, and he says, it's unlike Elon/Tesla to launch a product, especially of that magnitude, at an event where they've made no mention of it. This is an event about autonomy and robotaxi. They've made that abundantly clear. Everything else is noise based on the wants of automobile analysts and investors who aren't paying attention. Fair enough. So we'll see.
Huh?
Good to have some disagreements and discussion about these things. And then Tom says there's a decent chance it's simply a robotaxi unveil. History has the benefit of hindsight. And he makes a great point here. He says the scenario is akin to the iPhone unveil. Not many understood the eventual impact of what they were seeing.
Right.
And this may be actually the most, profound statement of all.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, we all remember this image.
Right.
And so that's kind of anchored our expectations
Yes.
around what the robotaxi could look like. But you know what I noticed in the corner here? Look on this right side. Here's a piece of cardboard that's very angular, more so than the sloping curve of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Now I suppose that could be the back of the vehicle instead of the front. But there's clearly lots of different design ideas that they've worked on.
Yeah.
So is that. Jan of the EV Universe suggests that here's another one of his 100% certain predictions. We've seen the yellow car. We've seen Elon on SNL dressed up as Wario. And it seems very clear to him now this is all coming together. So I can't disagree with him at this point. He seems to be onto something. And then, of course, we're in Los Angeles, Randy. And do you know what else Tesla is doing in LA?
Well, we have some rocketry design center over in Hawthorne or something. I think they build a few things over there too.
What about this?
Oh, yes, that's right.
So this is taken back, I think, about a month ago, this image. So
Right.
this may be ready for the event.
Yeah, I've been following it fairly closely because again, I live down the street. I mean, about 65 miles, but it is it would be very, very cool if they had it open in time for the event. Now it only parks, I think 21.
Well,
So
that's why they need some cyber vans so that everybody can come down in the van for the after party.
yeah, yeah. So they might have to only let people with an e-ticket in to the into the, you know.
Right. And speaking of people with tickets, I've obtained this image of a shareholder who has only one share who got a ticket to the event.
One share.
Here he is. So he's feeling pretty happy.
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks to Tesla Economics for that. Tesla Economics. All right. So yes, so expectations are what they are. Are they too high? I don't know.
Hmm.
The
Well,
expectations seem to be kind of all over the place, frankly. And
yeah.
I guess that happens when there's not been a whole lot of information leading up to it.
Yeah, I think there again, there's maybe the only thing we know for sure that's going to happen is they're going to show us the cab.
Yeah,
And pretty much after that, we're in the dark. I mean, really,
right.
we could speculate, we can hope,
Yeah.
but that's the only thing that has been pretty well spelled out. And the fact that it says we robot, that pretty much assures us that something's going to happen with Optimus.
I would like to think so. Scott Walter this morning suggested that he didn't want to jinx it. And he says, I'm only expecting something with the vehicle.
Okay.
So he would not go on record he's expecting anything with the bot.
Yeah, but
But
what would be another reason for saying we robot?
well, the iRobot series was kind of a cautionary tale
Yes.
regarding robots.
Yeah.
So we robot is a little bit more of, in conjunction with humanity rather than against it.
Hmm.
Maybe.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yep. Okay.
Or like you said, vehicles, humanoid bots.
Right.
Yeah. The one thing I guess no one has talked about is an update on AutoBidder. That's also kind of a robot,
Yeah.
unembodied.
True. And another thing that nobody's mentioned is the maybe even more important automated vehicle, which would be the semi truck.
Yeah,
So maybe some kind of an announcement with regard to semi truck getting FSD.
that would be nice. Yeah. Although I'd like FSD in my Cybertruck first, please.
Yes, I'm sure you would.
And not just for me, but
I
for
know. I
for
understand.
Larry.
For
Larry does a lot of driving. I requested for him. He can get it before me. I'm okay with that.
Okay. All right. Okay.
Yeah. All right. We've got a couple of cartoons today. Couple of old guys like us, Randy. What part of rate of change don't you understand? Says one guy. And the other guy in a very grumpy voice says, the change part.
Yeah. He
So
likes rates, but not changes, huh?
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Back to my friend Lewis. He actually took a photo of my Cybertruck that I had published,
Oh, yeah.
and he did this with it. Cybertruck is from nowhere ever before. And it's kind of interesting as my wife and I drive in the Cybertruck and we go down the road and we look at every other vehicle.
Yeah.
Other vehicles now look so old compared to the Cybertruck, which is just so clean and striking, and it's amazing.
Yeah. My wife, when we probably for the first year or two that we had the Model Y, she would say, I just feel sorry for all the other people out there that don't have a Model Y because it was so completely
Yeah.
uh, such a change from other cars. And then now this, of course, the Cybertruck, which she is dying to get a hold of one. I'm sure would have the same feeling you're expressing.
Yeah, it's been interesting. Not until we sort of sat in it and drove around it and kind of started to get used to it have we sort of noticed how just everything else just sort of pales in comparison?
Yeah, yeah. And in so many
Um,
ways,
yeah, right.
it drives the steering, the
Yep,
48 volt, all that stuff. Yeah.
yep.
By the way,
Now,
what do you think of the sound system?
it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah.
It's incredible. Yeah, yeah. Now, if I would have known that Lewis was going to do this, I actually might have attempted to clean my truck a little bit. But I do take some solace in the fact that Cybertrucks are meant to get dirty.
Yeah.
And this is from Wes, the lead engineer on the Cybertruck. So maybe I need to work on this a little bit more. It looks like I've got a ways to go to really pretty my truck up.
Yeah. But you may
Um,
have some chances to drive it around in some pretty sloppy weather here in an hour or so.
but that's right. With the hurricane bearing down on us, there could be some excess water and mud out there later.
Right, right.
Yeah. Yep. I thought this was nice. This is from the wife of Dirty Tesla.
Hmm.
She says Auto Park has completely erased any anxious feelings I had when driving the Cybertruck. Now, when people stare at me while I'm parking, I just wave both of my hands at them and enjoy their facial expressions. Um, so that's pretty neat. And that was one of my apprehensions too. I'm not a truck guy. This is my first truck that I've ever owned.
Uh-huh.
When I first stepped in the Cybertruck, it seemed pretty big, but it
Yes.
handles so easily. And with the 360 camera view that you have, essentially, when parking, it's so easy.
Hmm.
And of course, with the rear wheels also turning a little bit, the
Right.
maneuverability in this truck is incredible.
Sure.
So I hear, and I'll have to remember that now that when people watch the truck park itself, just to raise both hands and wave at them. It could be fun. All right, speaking of trucks, last week you and I talked about the semi and
Right.
the opportunity there. Here's a chart that compares the Tesla Semi with a couple of other existing truck vendors,
Okay.
Volvo and Freightliner's truck. And you can see that these trucks, their battery size, it's quite a bit smaller than the Semi.
Yeah.
And also the range is a lot less.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the efficiency, the kilowatt hours per mile,
Mhm.
are quite a bit higher. Yet these trucks go for about 200,000 apiece. And so part of the question is, what will the Tesla Semi sell for?
Mhm.
And it seems very clear to me that for many reasons that it should be priced quite a bit higher than $200,000,
That's
or it certainly could be.
yes, that's what, and I agree with you 100%. But then we had um, the speech there in Berlin.
Yeah.
Priestley, is that the guy's name?
Dan Priestley.
Dan
Yep.
Priestley, saying the other day that it would be competitive with diesel.
Yeah. And if that's the case, then they're giving their customers an insane bargain.
Right.
Because when I compare the cost of fuel
Mm-hmm.
for diesel versus the Tesla Semi, it's staggering. So here's a couple of examples. If we focus on this column first, if you drive 150,000 miles a year in the truck, which is not a stretch for these trucks,
Right.
for diesel, if you get 7 miles to the gallon,
Mm-hmm.
you're going to burn through 21,000 gallons of fuel a year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many gallons are in a swimming pool, but this is a lot of fuel. And the average cost of diesel right now in the US is about 350.
Okay.
I think out where you are in California, it's probably a scotch higher than that.
Probably.
But that's about $75,000 a year of fuel costs. Now, if the efficiency of the Semi is what PepsiCo reported at
Mhm.
161, this
Mhm.
is from Pepsi again, this is not from Tesla.
Mhm.
To go 150,000 miles, you're looking at 241,000 kilowatt hours a year. And this 12 cents a kilowatt is kind of the average price that commercial entities in the US get on their electric bill.
Mhm.
Some will be higher, some will be lower. So the annual cost of energy for the truck is about $29,000. That's a $46,000 a year savings.
Right.
Okay. Now, Elon last week said that the truck could get down to an efficiency of 120. And if that's the case, you're saving about $53,000 a year on fuel
Yeah.
costs. So a 60 to 70% savings in fuel. So if you price the truck at 300,000,
Oh, yeah.
it's just a 2-year payback on the fuel savings to a diesel truck.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then, of course, these trucks last 10, 15 years.
And then you've got the savings on repairs. You
Yeah.
probably are getting to the destination faster, certainly if there's any hills involved.
Right.
So there's, a lot of other things, and that doesn't even count FSD. But yeah, just on the fuel, this is an amazing opportunity.
Yeah. And I'd imagine oil changes probably add up for trucks too. I'm not sure how frequently they change the oil, but that's a big component.
And another big thing that people are not taking into consideration, it's a very large capital cost. But but for Pepsi and others who are going to be putting in destination chargers at their locations,
Yeah.
they're also going to almost certainly put in a mega pack, and maybe even some of their own solar at the same time. So now you might be talking about almost free energy at some point.
Yeah, I did a little analysis of, let's say you had a fleet of 50 trucks and you're kind of going between one depot to another.
Right.
And you might want, let's say, a mega packet each and so on to charging infrastructure. Let's say that all that costs $5 million.
Mm-hmm.
You're looking at an extra $100,000 per truck.
Right.
But again, that's going to pay itself off
Right.
in a couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of investment doesn't seem crazy. And of course, a lot of these trucking companies have fleets way bigger than 50.
Right.
Right. So it's going to be a no-brainer for them to make that investment.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So anyway, it's exciting future with this. And then, of course, add FSD to this and the opportunity for robo-trucking and what that may mean is also very exciting.
Right.
FedEx seems like they badly need Tesla Semi. They have just announced a 6% rate increase for next year. So they need these trucks fast.
Yeah. Yeah. They need to get rid of those nasty employees.
Yep. And then another reason, obviously, for semis, they account for 1% of the vehicles in the US, 20% of the emissions, and 36% of the particulate emissions.
Wow.
This is the unhealthy
Yes.
stuff to humans.
Right.
In many, many different ways. Elon has said you don't want to live next to a highway. All right. Moving on from that. Inflation. Uncle Sam here says just ignore them. And it's not so easy for the average person to do.
Yeah, no kidding. Okay. All right. Well, then, until next Thursday, it has been great having you on board. And thank you so much for showing up. And for all of you out there, it's been great talking to you.
Thanks, Randy.